Trust News Center. This is the News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, Supreme Court says old Naira notes remain legal tender, adjourns hearing on suit. Protests erupt in Delta, Oyo, others over Naira scarcity, bank ATMs destroyed. Residents in Katsina bandits invested communities express uncertainties on forthcoming elections. And on the foreign scene, Zambia grants 8 Croatians bail in child trafficking case. Hello and welcome to Trans TV News Hour. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. We begin at the Supreme Court, where the court has adjourned hearing on a motion by 7 states seeking to join the suit challenging the Naira redesign policy as co-plaintiffs. Trans TV's Shafiq Suleiman reports that 7 more states indicated interest in joining the suit originally initiated by Kaduna, Kogi and Zamfara states against the Attorney General of the Federation, while Bayelsa and Edo states applied to be joined as co-defendants in the suit. The report.
Kaduna, Zamfara and Kogi states first approached the Supreme Court challenging the federal government cashless policy and 10 February deadline for the phase-out of 200, 500 and 1,000 old Naira notes from circulation. They prayed the Apex Court to restrain the central bank from enforcing the February 10th deadline. The Supreme Court had on the 8th of this month granted an ex parte order directing that both old and new Naira notes should be in circulation pending the hearing of the substantive matter scheduled for today. At the resumed hearing on Wednesday, Katsina, Lagos, Cross Rivers, Ogun and Sokoto applied to be joined as co-plaintiffs, while Edo and Bayelsa sought to be co-defendants.
We are working towards solving this problem. It's a national problem, and we are working towards solving this problem. There aren't 2 sides. We are affected on both sides. We are trying to solve it. Please, I want you to know the government is not deliberately frustrating the plaintiffs. This is a problem that we are trying to solve. With a little time, it will be solved.
The court order of 8th of February restraining the defendant is still subsisting, and the court confirmed now, and the implication of that is that the old notes still remain as legal tender in this country. The policy or directive given by the CBN governor becomes inconsequential in the light of the fact that the court has extended the lifespan of the interim order it granted on the 8th of February to the fact that the old notes and the new notes, all of them are legal tenders in Nigeria.
The 7-man panel of Supreme Court granted motions to accommodate the interested parties and those with similar applications and asked them to consolidate and harmonize their positions and deposit such with the court registry for hearing. On its earlier restraining order, the panel of justices maintained that the order subsists pending determination of the matter. Shafiq Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Meanwhile, protests erupted in no fewer than 4 states this Wednesday as the Supreme Court adjourned ruling in the suit filed by some state governments against the February 10th deadline for the use of the old Naira notes. Nigerians who expected a definite position from the court were disappointed with the adjournment, which left them to cope with the pains of surviving with no new notes and rejection of old notes by vendors. Angered by the decision and the silence from the presidency, some youth took to the streets to vent their frustration. The report.
In Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, the protesters burnt tires across major roads of the ancient city, barricaded major routes, and disrupted economic activities across the state. Some of them urged the central government to urgently address the situation before things get out of hand.
Price of goods has increased. Then we also have fuel scarcity. This is enough to incite Nigerians to come on street to send this administration back home, because this is not what they promised Nigerians in 2014 when they are coming.
For now, you understand the governor is on his campaign tour, and is someone who is very concerned about the welfare of the people, and I believe very strongly the governor is going to address the situation to the best of his capacity.
In Delta State, angry youth set 2 commercial banks' ATMs on fire, vandalized campaign materials, and vowed that elections will not hold until the crisis is addressed. The police later mounted roadblocks around the area to stop the protesters from burning any government property. Meanwhile, the state governor and vice presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Ifeanyi Okowa, has appealed to citizens of the state and Nigerians to remain calm amidst the scarcity of the new Naira notes. Okowa, in a statement by the State Commissioner for Information, Charles Anyago, in Asaba, called on the Central Bank of Nigeria and the monetary authorities to take further steps in increasing the money supply in the system. The Naira note scarcity protest also rocked Ilorin, the Kwara state capital, as protesters barricaded and made bonfires on some major streets such as Gambari, Ogidi, Oko Olowo, among others. The angry protesters said the scarcity of Naira has brought untold hardship to them, as they have been unable to carry out any business transaction.
Filling station, they didn't collect the old money from us, and the bank too, they didn't collect anything from us. So we are a driver, we are driving a motor, but we don't have option to go to anywhere, because when we go to filling station now, they will not accept the money from us. So everybody are versing.
In Edo State, no fewer than 3 persons lost their lives during the violent protest that erupted on Wednesday morning in parts of Benin City. The protesters attempted to break into the state branch of Central Bank of Nigeria, located along Akpakpava Street, a commercial nerve center in Benin City, where most commercial banks are also located. Thereafter attacked some commercial banks located in the area.
And residents of Maiduguri have lamented the conflicting directives from the CBN and the Supreme Court on the use of the old Naira notes. They complained that the cashless policy has caused more hardship as they are unable to access money from banks for their daily activities around the metropolis. The residents, who had expected a clear-cut directive after the court's sitting on Wednesday, were disappointed with the adjournment and called on the CBN to recirculate the old notes and distribute the redesigned Naira across banks.
Everyone is confused with what is happening. They are not helping the situation. I was having 5,000 Naira old notes. I spent it because of what is going on, and now I don't have any money. And the worst thing is that there is no place to get cash. The government should listen to the Supreme Court to end this suffering.
Only what we can demand from government, we need network. Much network from each bank, so anybody that wants to transact, let him transact the money sharply at least.
Honestly, this is not the time to be playing with us. We can't go anywhere because of lack of cash. With the old notes no more being in circulation, then where are the new notes? We have been spending nights at the ATM and still no cash. The banks don't have money. This is not progress at all.
Meanwhile, reactions are trailing the central bank governor, Godwin Emefiele's position that further extension for depositing the old versions of the redesigned Naira notes at commercial banks may not be necessary. The CBN governor, while addressing the diplomatic community on Tuesday in Abuja, stated that it was unnecessary to shift the February 10th deadline, as the Apex Bank was working to address the chaos that followed the implementation of the policy. Stakeholders are, however, divided on the decision, which has implications on the everyday lives of Nigerians. Chamunda Beng reports.
The CBN governor's position follows a court order which extended the deadline to the 15th of February. The court order inevitably triggered confusion amongst Nigerians as to which deadline to adhere to. However, Nigerians who chose to follow the law were plunged into deeper confusion by commercial banks' refusal to accept the old notes. As more challenges continue to unfold for Nigeria's citizens, economist and financial analyst Audu Aliyu delves into the economic implications of the policy.
This shouldn't be the situation, because now you're creating an economic quagmire, because the other day I saw people going to banks and protesting and hitting and burning banks and coming into banks naked. Now, what you're going to do, you're going to stifle the economy. You're going to make it so tight for the common man that you have nowhere to go other than to fight back. And that is anarchy when the masses begin to fight. We should be fair to the masses. We should be fair to Nigerians and allow them access to their currency. You have not provided the foreign currency, the new currency, and the old currency, you are taking it away. How are Nigerians going to access their money? Remember, it is their right to have access to their money. There is no way you can take people's food from the table and you expect them to be law-abiding. I'm not calling for people to disobey the law, but I'm making an economic prediction, as I've done before, that this policy implementation is totally wrong. That the only way for this policy to succeed is for you to allow the old naira and the new naira to run pari passu, because you have made the mistake. The CBN governor has made the mistake, and as such, needs to take responsibility.
As a result of the difference in the positions of the Supreme Court and the Central Bank of Nigeria, several establishments have refused to accept the old naira notes, which, according to legal practitioner Mutiu Akinsanya, is an infringement of the law.
So every institution, every person out there must obey what the Supreme Court has said by continuing to recognize the old notes as legal tender. So it's still a legal tender as far as we're concerned, because it's before the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court has spoken. So the CBN Act is also very clear that whatever is legal tender should not be rejected by anyone. So anybody who rejects a legal tender, a naira or kobo, as recognized by the CBN Act, is an offense that is punishable under the law.
International financial institutions as well as experts are calling for the central bank to give the policy more time and allow the old notes to fade out naturally over a period of 6 to 12 months. Chamun Dabeng, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now, daily and weekly markets that usually trade exclusively in cash in Bauchi State have been hit hard following the continuous lack of the newly redesigned Naira notes. Trust TV's Adamu Imam examines how residents of the state are coping with the policy which has drastically limited the amount Nigerians can access at the moment. His report.
Uncertainty around the cash swap policy, especially after the expiration of the February 10 deadline and the Supreme Order saying the execution of the stoppage of the use of the old version of the 200 Naira, 500 Naira and 1000 Naira notes has continued to put many in a state of apprehension as there is no clear-cut position on the issue. In communities across Nigeria, life is getting tougher with every passing day as the scarcity bites harder. Chukwuemeka and Eze Lovina are residents of Futuk district in Alkaliri local government area of the state. They say the issue of Naira redesign policy has pushed them into hardship.
There's no money in our hands, come talking of going to the bank. What would go to the bank and put? You have no money. So government will help us in our business activity so that things will go up.
Others also told Trust TV the challenges they face at one of the weekly markets in the area. I came here to buy 100 Naira worth of perishables and I was told to do a transfer. It can't work like that. I went to the banks today and they are closed. There is no cash at ATMs, no access to the banks. And I also noticed that they have stopped collecting the old notes. I had to exchange my old 1000 notes for 100 Naira with a trader to enable me go home. Tuesday was our market day here in Futuk. A lot of people brought their goods to sell, but they refused to trade with the old Naira notes because of fear of the unknown. Some had to go back with their goods. We are begging the government to reverse this policy because we are not just suffering, we are confused. Our customers usually come and ask for our account when they want to buy tomatoes, onions, etc. But I don't have a bank account. Meanwhile, at one of the ATMs within the metropolis, people are still struggling to get cash. Kale Bukata narrates his experience.
Call on the government that to look at the one man like us, that at least they should do the needful. You can see us say we are just stranded, no money in the queue, that they should do the needful and release the money for us so that we the masses can get the money down at the local level.
He also appealed to the federal government to find a lasting solution to the Naira notes policy in order to ameliorate plight of Nigerians.
Seriously, it has been so frustrating too. Because on my way down here, I branched at one shop to buy a particular item with an all nut. So they say that they are not collecting all nut. And I have to bring it to the banks. Same thing at the bank, seriously speaking.
Nigerians are hopeful that scenes like this will disappear when the new notes become more available for circulation. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
And now to election matters, where many Katsina communities are under constant attacks from bandits. From Gangara in Jibia to Damari and Maiboko in Sabwa and Dandume local government areas, most communities are now bandits' strongholds. In view of the region banditry, there are questions whether or not elections will hold in these communities. Abdullahi Amadi asks residents of Jibia, Batsari, Safana and Sabwa local government areas how they intend to vote during the upcoming polls.
Residents say they will not want to be disenfranchised, but their coming out to vote depends largely on the security provided in order not to endanger their lives. They are afraid that attacks on their communities may not abate as elections draw closer, thereby making it difficult to be certain about coming out to vote. Elections? Are you referring to the election we have been hearing about in the media? I don't know anything about that. We are being governed by terrorists. Did you see any government presence here? Anyway, we have had a polling unit here, but can they come on election days? Only time can tell. Elections in this village depends on the security provided before, during and after the elections, but for now, I cannot tell. If anybody vows to conduct election here, let him dare it. As we speak, terrorists can appear here any moment, God forbid. According to these residents, 2 out of 3 of people in these communities have fled to safer places and have never seen any politician coming around to campaign. We are all ready to vote on election days, but let me tell you, the safety of all stakeholders must be the watchword, because no one can guarantee that except God. Just 10 minutes after leaving Sawayawa and Kadage villages in Kurifi local government area, 30 bandits armed with AK-47 rifles riding on motorcycles reportedly attacked the community. However, despite these security concerns, the electoral umpire is optimistic that elections will be held.
I would like to confirm and to reassure the public that elections will hold in all local government areas, in all registration areas and polling units in Katsina State, regardless of security challenges that we are having in some places. So the public should be confident in themselves and in the commission that election will hold. Nothing is stopping us from conducting election in all areas.
Though eligible voters in the insecurity-prone communities of Katsina State are hopeful that elections are held peacefully, the state of uncertainty remains. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
And to politics now, where the Northern Elders Forum General Assembly was held in Abuja, with presidential candidates unveiling their agenda to chart a new course and address challenges facing the region. Vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Datti Baba Ahmed, said his party intends to end corruption and rejuvenate the economy. Noel Sampson reports that the General Assembly coincides with the 10-year anniversary of the forum. His report.
The General Assembly is coming few days to the elections. Little wonder, therefore, that leaders seize the opportunity to examine prospects and challenges of the North in the last decade and generate ideas and strategies that should chart its electoral fortune in few weeks.
Where you see the problem, we see the solution. Our records, our histories have shown we were able to create wealth. We did not derive wealth from government.
So Nigerians, Nigeria is in the ICU. When a patient is in the ICU, you need a competent hand. That competent hand, I have no doubt, is our candidate, Atiku Abubakar.
The Vice President of the APC, it indicates that the North is regenerating. The North is regenerating. And that is the key issue here in this campaign.
We are not here to campaign, and we don't intend to campaign because they said it's only if you hear somebody selling honey, that this honey is sweet, don't go buy that honey because there is something wrong with that honey. Nobody advertises honey because honey advertises itself.
They have got it wrong, but this is the right time to fix it. We are tired of all of us, all of you, all making us fight one another. We want to work together to make this contraption called the North.
The convener of the Northern Elders Forum, Professor Angu Abdullahi, speaks on the intendment of the General Assembly.
We are the cause of the unhappiness in northern Nigeria. And therefore, we have to resolve, we have to take a decision in terms of what has to be done to recover this lost ground.
Let us be sincere. At the crossroad that we are, there is no sentiment about it. We are, as a country, at crossroad, and that's why you are here in the spirit of Sardauna, in the spirit of Tafawa Balewa, in the spirit of
our dependency on the presidency and the Nigerian government is our problem. We have been at the center for too long, and we didn't do much. And that's why we are always struggling to be at the center.
The forum said it resisted pressure to identify with a particular candidate, choosing instead to give a chance to share their ideas for the nation's progress. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And still talking politics, the former Minister of Transportation, Chibuke Amechi, was absent as the APC presidential candidate Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu stormed the Yakubu Gowon Stadium, Port Harcourt, for the APC presidential campaign rally. The absence of the former minister at the rally has fueled speculations that all is not well between him and the APC presidential candidate who defeated him at the party's primaries. The State Publicity Secretary of the APC, Darlington Nwajulu, said the former minister could not attend the rally because he was busy with his academic programs. Nwajulu maintained that despite Amechi's absence, the ex-transport minister remained firmly in charge of the APC structure in Rivers State. And no fewer than 150 Nigerians were on Tuesday repatriated from Niamey, Niger Republic. They were received by the National Emergency Management Agency at the Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos. The repatriation from Niger Republic was facilitated by the International Organization for Migration. The coordinator of NEMA, Lagos Territorial Office, Ibrahim Farinloye, who represented the Director General, Mustafa Ahmed, received the returnees alongside other government agencies. The returnees included 98 males, 24 females, and 28 children, both boys and girls. Still with us on Trust TV News Hour, still ahead. What role can parents play against this menace? Details of this and more after the break. Do stay with us.
Nigeria now we country, APC not the party, now one man be a choice.
At last, the elections are here. Let's turn out en masse on election day and vote Asiwaju Bola Tinubu as President of Nigeria for a renewed hope and a better Nigeria. Vote APC, the party that shows a broom.
Now, as as part of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening.
Now looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130.
Created a Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secured are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the
Already, if you look at English squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at
That's great.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV News Hour. Now let's recap our top stories. Supreme Court says old Naira notes remain legal tender, adjourns hearing on suit. And protests erupt in Delta, Oyo and others over Naira scarcity, bank ATMs destroyed. And moving on to other news. Now, a female candidate seeking election into the House of Representatives from Kaduna State, Hawa Gambo, says insecurity and cultural beliefs are affecting women's chances in the forthcoming elections. Gambo, who is contesting on the platform of the African Democratic Congress, said despite the challenges, women's contributions in the 2023 election will be positive and impactful on the electoral process. The report.
Women participation in politics in Nigeria is a subject of discussion at different fora. There are fewer women in elective and appointive positions in government due to largely too many factors. For 2023 election, many women are in the race for different elective positions. However, Hawa Gambo said women participation in election as contestant has dropped compared to the previous elections.
From data and statistics that we have, participation of women in the forthcoming elections is much more lower than it was in 2019, and that is not a good sign. It means women are lagging behind. I am here to assure you, the moment you begin your journey, God will open up ways for people who support you to find you and support you.
She blames cultural and other societal beliefs as factors responsible for low women participation in politics.
Is the fact that when many people see female politicians from this part of the country, they don't take us seriously. You know, it's really amusing to me. I don't know why they don't take us seriously, but I have come across a lot of people who tell me that they don't take me seriously, or they don't believe I will win election because I'm a woman. And it seems so myopic and closed-minded to me, but that's what some people think. Because it can be a very exhausting and lonely journey. You know, sometimes it's very overwhelming and you feel like you should just quit. But deep inside you, you know that quitting is not an option, but we wish you can take a break.
Safer and secured environment allow women to participate fully in campaigns and other electioneering activities. Gambo blames the present insecurity in the north as an impediment to women's quest for elective offices.
Generally, all over the country, especially here in the northwest, there is heightened insecurity. In the Ward C training, there were female candidates from Zamfara, from Sokoto, from Birnin Kebbi. And you know, these places have more insecurity than Kaduna does. But there are female candidates there and they are all out for these elections. So in their own case, I know they would say that insecurity is one of their biggest challenges.
Gambo believes that women will win various elective offices in the 2023 polls. Bella Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
And still on the forthcoming elections, the United States government has advised Nigerians to avoid inciting statements that could trigger violence, voter suppression or intimidation that could mar the electoral process. U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Molly Fee, gave the advice on Wednesday in Abuja during a roundtable meeting with journalists. Fee, whose advice is coming a few days before the 2023 general elections in the country, noted that having credible polls was the responsibility of all citizens. She urged Nigerians to trust the electoral process and accept the choice of the people when winners are announced, while strongly admonishing citizens to refrain from post-election violence. Fee also cautioned political parties and their candidates against voter suppression and intimidation. And ahead of the general elections, stakeholders in Ibadan have called on Nigerians to avoid fake news, religious intolerance, as well as guard against misinformation. Now, this and many more were the focus of stakeholders' consultative meeting, where participants harped on the need for peace during the exercise. The report. It's less than 2 weeks to the conduct of the general election, and the National Peace Committee here appears determined to deepen stakeholders' participation, amplify the voice of the citizenry, and ensure credible polls.
The idea is that in Oyo State here, we're looking at bringing these key stakeholders who will drive the process of peace in Oyo State, knowing fully well that they are composed of not just the moral, but also they also have the mediating authority to ensure that peace thrives in Oyo State.
I want to advise us strongly that as individuals, in our closet, let's work towards the Nigerian concept. Let's believe in the totality of Nigeria. Let's believe we have no other place except here.
Organizers of this event also intend to promote the ideals of peace as well as commit candidates to peaceful processes among all stakeholders in order to elect credible leaders that can drive the needed change.
Two things as United Nations. First of all, we've already for some time provided technical support, for example, to INEC, to ensure that progress is made in how to prepare for and manage elections. And we see some progress being made there. We will continue working with INEC and others to improve the process.
The law will not be on hold. It will not be in suspension because we have election. If anyone violates the law, if anyone is at variance with the law, he or she will be arrested and duly prosecuted.
The event had in attendance development partners, traditional and religious leaders, and other critical stakeholders who harped on the need for the citizenry to honor Nigeria's diversity and vote leaders with impact.
We are to be seen and not to be heard. Either the policy is going haywire, either the policy is good or not, the traditional rulers are supposed to say, yes, sir. And to the operators of the Constitution and to those who are making the Constitution, they've not seen anything wrong about that. I will be talking about human rights. Do traditional rulers have any rights in government? I don't think so.
The message has always been that peace should be maintained. No one should allow his child or children or words to be used for thuggery during this election.
This high-level consultative meeting with critical stakeholders is designed to drive the ideals for peace before, during, and after the general election. Now to matters of security, where police operatives have neutralized suspected terrorists at Ungwar Kitibawa and Ungwar Balarabe in Dutsama and Danja local government areas of Katsina State. The terrorists were killed by the police operatives during a gun duel. Abdullahi Yamadi has more.
At first, the area commander Dutsama led an operation to Ungwar Kitibawa, a farming community which came under attack by suspected terrorists. The terrorists shot sporadically and abducted some residents in the process, but were later rescued and hurt by the police. One of the suspected terrorists was gunned down, while many escaped with gunshot injuries, and securities are combing the nearby bushes to arrest the wounded hoodlums.
Terrorists in their numbers, shooting sporadically with AK-47 rifles, attacked Kitbawa village, Dusama local government area, and kidnapped one Alhaji Ado Rumawa, male, age 55 years, of the same address.
Similarly, the divisional police officer in Danja led his men to Ungwar Balarabi on Danja Bakori Road and repelled about 20 terrorists who blocked the road, dispossessing passers-by of their belongings.
In the course of scanning the scene, one suspected terrorist was neutralized. A cutlass, 3 mobile phones, and a stick were recovered at the scene by the police during such. Investigation is ongoing.
The police efforts did not stop at that because its operatives have arrested a notorious armed robbery syndicate terrorizing residents of Katsina Metropolis. I belong to a syndicate of armed robbers operating in Katsina City, but the last time members of my gang were arrested, I escaped to Abuja. After some couple of months, I decided that I should come back to Katsina. I participated in many robbery attacks, but at last, this is where I ended up.
To kai tun daga lokacin ina kake? Ni da ne. Ina ka tafi? Na Abuja. Abuja ka gudu? Sai yanzu ka dauka ka ci bulis ka dawo? A'a.
Several motor vehicles and motorcycles were also recovered from other suspected criminals who are under series of investigations by the command. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Crossed Television News, Katsina.
And now to Anambra State, where police in the state have rescued 15 abducted National Youth Service Corps members who had just completed their orientation in Imo. The Corps members from NYC Orientation Camp located at Eziama Obaire, Nkwere local government area of Imo, were in a vehicle on their way to Lagos when they were abducted. The Anambra State Police Public Relations Officer, Deputy Superintendent of Police Tochukwu Ikenga, made this known in a statement on Tuesday in Awka. He said the police operatives responded to a distress call along Iseke Ihiala Olu Expressway and rescued the 15 abducted Corps members unhurt. The police public relations officer said the Corps members were debriefed and necessary arrangements had been made to convey them to their destinations. Meanwhile, for the first time since his dethronement as Emir of Kano 3 years ago, Muhammad Sanusi II on Monday visited the state. Sanusi is reportedly in Kano to greet his mother on his way to Dutse, the Jigawa state capital, where he is expected to pay a condolence visit to the emirate over the recent death of its emir, Nuhu Muhammad Sanusi. Sanusi, who is also the leader of the Tijaniya sect in Nigeria, is also expected to congratulate the new emir, Hamim Nuhu Sanusi. The 14th Fulani emir of Kano was banished to Loko and Awe in Nasarawa state after the dethronement over what the state government described as total disrespect to the lawful instructions from the office of the governor. The action was, however, declared as illegal and unconstitutional by the Federal High Court in Abuja, after which he was allowed to freely travel to all places of his choice. Anti-corruption civil society organizations numbering over 100 on Wednesday continued their protest against the continued stay of Abdurrashid Bawa as the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. The protesters who took to the streets of Lagos are accusing the commission's chairman of alleged politicization of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, disobedience of court orders and infringement on human rights of Nigerians. The report.
The protest, which took place today at the Ikeja shopping mall in Alausa, is the 6th organized protest since the top activists began their call for the removal of EFCC chairman Abdurrashid Bawa. The anti-corruption civil society organizations insisted that EFCC, under Bauer administration, had turned itself into a sensational media agency, churning out deliberate misinformation on almost a daily basis to strengthen a political cause, adding that responsible civil society groups would not fold their arms and watch the country's global anti-corruption outlook slip into a mess, all in the name of the anti-democratic tendencies of a few recalcitrant leaders. Speaking at the protest, the chairman, Coalition of Yoruba Youth Council, Emmanuel Kolawole, speaks on the need for all institutions to respect court orders.
What we are here for is simply to tell the EFCC chairman straight and direct that Nigeria is not a banana republic, that Nigeria is not a place where a law enforcement officer would not obey our law, where people that are public servants would see us, the citizens and ordinary Nigerians, as fool, or they will see us as someone that are above the law. It is very simple. As EFCC chairman, you have taken so many people to court. You have convicted them. They have obeyed the court order. You have gone they have been sentenced to the prison. Now it is your own turn. You were taken to court, and subsequently the judgment went against you. What we are saying is very simple. Is either you are resigning, or of course you turn yourself in.
First thanks to Yoruba people. You cannot continue like this, because injustice to one is injustice to all. Nobody is above the law. What is happening in this country? A country that has over 250 million people, and someone that represents the interests of the people, that will safeguard the interests of the people, that's supposed to be in charge of the crime and law. And I must tell you, if such person was found guilty of anything without any delay, even I want to call on Mr. President Muhammad Buhari, to direct Bauer to resign without any delay.
Important in this country, and a agency that is fighting corruption, and whereby the chairman or the chairman of the agency has found guilty, like what we are asking for him is to step down. Yes, Bauer must step down, because we cannot continue like this. This is a country, for God's sake, a country of integrity people, so that if Bauer can be charging people to court and later he was found guilty, what we need for him is to step down.
Corruption civil society groups further noted that a serial violator of court order is not fit to be the head of an agency that is supposed to sanitize the society, and he should step down.
The Director General of the Bureau of Public Service Reforms, Dasuki Ibrahim Arabi, has warned the National Population Commission to be wary of internet threats against the digital aspect of the census scheduled to hold in April this year. Arabi made this known at the February edition of the Bureau's monthly lunchtime seminar themed National Development and the Imperatives of the 2023 Population and Housing Census. Noel Sampson has more.
The Director of Census Data Quality Management, Adebayo Foluke, said the Commission was prepared to deal with threats from all fronts to ensure that all eligible Nigerians get counted.
The preparations that we have put so far into the conduct of the forthcoming census in April, we have done the enumeration area demarcation of the entire country, and that means that we have delineated every inch of land in the nation into enumeration areas where the enumerator can cover within the period of the census and be able to count everybody. And at the end of the day, not only the census figure is going to be used, we are also getting the geospatial characteristics of the census. That is, we count people where they are, what they do, how do they live, in what type of building do they live, what facilities are available for them, what infrastructure do they have access to, how far are they from schools, how far are they from hospitals, and what can the government do to make the life of Nigerians better.
The Director General stressed the importance of the forthcoming census and how imperative it is to national development.
This is very, very important to us, because recent events have indicated a lot of attempts have been made to break into server bases of ministries, departments, and agencies of government, and even some banks. So we encourage them to be very careful, and that is why I emphasize the need for them to collaborate with agencies of government, especially agencies that are saddled with the responsibility of providing safety for our data that we are generating, providing connectivity, and even authorization of some of our IT projects and activities.
Knowledge of the national population in terms of size, distribution, and socio-economic characteristics is required for planning process. This therefore makes the conduct of census an essential governance activity. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now, religious, community and other leaders and stakeholders in the Kaduna society believes that taking Almajiri and other vulnerable children off the streets is not the responsibility of government alone, but parents and the community have roles to play. They believe that out-of-school children in northern Nigeria are a menace that needs to be addressed for socio-economic development of the region. The report.
Children roaming the street without proper care and education is common sight in many northern cities. Despite intervention by government at different levels, yet the issue of Almajiri and other vulnerable children is still persisting. Teachers from Islamia schools and community leaders said the meeting will further assist in taking such children off the street.
It has reduced non-school dropout. It has reduced non-school attendance. It has made up the parent to know the value of education. It has made up the community that they have all the little one they have, they can contribute to support the goodness of the children in the community.
By telling them that they are part of the society and they can do better because their parents neglect them or they are hawkers on the street does not give them right to see themselves as less people or people without advantage or people that don't have opportunity, but they will seize this opportunity to do better and show people that they are equal.
The representative from the Office of the Special Advisor to the President on Social Investment reiterates government commitment to address the risk such children are exposed to in northern Nigeria and in the country at large.
Engage key stakeholders, including the parents, to show them the importance of having these children go and access this learning. And that is what we have been encouraging them to do. Is that there are many factors that lead these children to be on the street. Yes, the parents are to be admonished not to allow their children to roam around, but there are many factors that that contribute to this, and one of it is parental guide, and most of them have never been into the four walls of classroom. And the idea is that you just don't take kids off the street and take them to school. So you have to introduce them to some form of learning.
Vulnerable children who lack social protection and luxury of basic formal education but roaming the street could be used against the society if they are neglected by the government and the society. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
You're still watching Trust TV News Hour. The news continues shortly. Do stay with us.
Sanin madafin shugabanci na da inganci wajen gina kowace irin ingantacciyar demokaradiyya. Maza 'yan Najeriya ku dunkule ku cure ku zabi Bola Ahmed Tinubu a matsayin shugaban kasa da kuma Kashim Shettima a matsayin mataimakin sa. A karkashin jam'iyyar APC a shekara ta 2023 mutum ne jajirtacce, tabbas yana da tasiri a fagen siyasar Najeriya. A cikin kundin manufofin sa zai inganta tsaro, bangaren noma, faɗaɗa hanyoyin tattalin arziki da kuma kasuwanci. Hanyoyin arzikin mu a kuntace suke a sakamakon rashin rarraba wutar lantarki yadda ya kamata. Bola Ahmed Tinubu zai saisaita kudirinsa wajen samar da isasshen wutar lantarki a Najeriya. Idan 'yan Najeriya suka zabe shi, zai gudanar da ayyuka bangarori da dama na ci gaba kamar bangaren sufuri, ilimi da kuma inganta tsaro, kasuwanci da kuma gyara bangaren shari'a. To 'yan Najeriya ba ku da zabi illa zaben Bola Ahmed Tinubu a matsayin shugaban kasar Najeriya na gaba.
Wannan sako ne daga sashen tsare-tsare da sadarwa na kwamitin yakin neman zaben shugaban kasa na jam'iyyar APC.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV News Hour. Now let's join Chiamaka Nwafo for business news.
Nigeria's January inflation figure rose from 21.34% in December to 21.38%, according to recent data from the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS. The January 2023 inflation rate showed an increase of 0.47 percentage points when compared to December 2022 inflation rate. However, on a year-on-year basis, the headline inflation rate was 6.22 percentage points higher compared to the rate recorded in January 2022, which was 15.60%. The data showed that the headline inflation rate on a year-on-year basis increased in January 2023 compared to the same month in the preceding year. The percentage change in the average CPI for the 12 months ending January 2023 over the average for the previous 12 months was 19.36%, showing a 2.49% increase compared to 16.87% recorded in January of 2022. Still on inflation, however, in South Africa, it slowed for a third consecutive month in January, dipping below 7% after hitting a 13-year peak last year, data showed on Wednesday. Consumer prices rose 6.9% last month compared to January 2022, after a year-on-year increase of 7.2% in December, the National Statistics Agency, StatSA, revealed. Inflation around the world is easing after striking the highest levels in decades last year as Russia's invasion of Ukraine drove up energy and food prices. Inflation in South Africa reached 7.8% in July last year, its highest in 13 years. And finally, in the stock market, the Nigerian stocks on Wednesday closed higher as the all-share index advanced marginally by 0.02% to settle at 54,507.66 points. The market capitalization was up by 0.02% to close at 29.689 trillion naira, gaining 6 billion naira. The market break closed positive as 20 equities appreciated in the share prices against 16 that declined. An aggregate of 134 million units of shares was traded in 2,905 deals, valued at 4 billion naira. And that's it on Business News. I am Chiamaka Nwafo.
Thank you, Chiamaka, for that business update. And now for a look at the foreign scene, where 8 Croatians facing child trafficking charges in Zambia were granted bail on Tuesday following their rearrest last week while trying to leave the southern African nation. The charges allege that on December 7th last year, the 4 couples acted together with a Zambian immigration official to try to traffic 4 children from the neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo. The group said they legally adopted the children aged between 1 and 3 years old, but Zambian authorities have accused them of trafficking the minors. The prosecution had opposed the bail application, arguing that the 8 were flight risks. But Magistrate Jennifer Bwalia said nothing excluded them from seeking bail if the conditions of paying 20,000 kwacha, an equivalent of about $1,000 each in bail fees, and offer 2 shorties from reputable organizations were met. Meanwhile, a 42-year-old woman has been rescued from the rubble of a building in the southern Turkish city of Kahramanmaraş, where she was trapped for almost 222 hours. Videos showed rescue workers carrying the woman, identified as Melike Imamoglu, strapped on a stretcher to a nearby ambulance. Kahramanmaraş is close to the epicenter of last week's earthquakes. Meanwhile, the death toll from the Turkey-Syria earthquakes has crossed 41,000. Turkish authorities say 35,418 people have been killed in the country, while the Syrian government and the UN said more than 5,800 people have died in Syria. Right now, let's join Adeniyi Ajisafe for sports news.
The Nigerian Cricket Federation (NCF) says it's targeting 1 million new entrants into the game yearly. NCF General Manager Igwilo at the Federation's annual general meeting held in Abuja said the target was given to Nigeria by the International Cricket Council (ICC). Igwilo said the international body was happy with the progress of cricket in Nigeria. The ICC is also focusing on the special intervention program with the NCF to grow the numbers for the game, especially considering the population of Nigeria. The former cricket player said the program would mean funds going directly to the states to aid the introduction of participants to the game. And in football, Saudi Arabia has been selected to host the 2023 Club World Cup built for December 12 to 22, 2023. The FIFA Council unanimously voted for the Saudi Arabian Football Federation to stage the event, which includes the 6 continental champions and the host national champion. Saudi had previously hosted sporting events including 2023 Spanish Super Cup final, 2022 World Boxing title fight between Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua, and the Riyadh Grand Prix. The FIFA Council meeting also confirmed changes to the structure of the Club World Cup, with approval for an expanded 32-team tournament from 2025. UEFA will have 12 slots and CONMEBOL 6, while CONCACAF, CAF and the AFC will have 4 each, with 1 place for the OFC and another for the host. FIFA also confirmed United States, Mexico and Canada will automatically qualify for 2026 World Cup as joint hosts of the tournament, with their places being deducted from CONCACAF's overall allocation of 6. That's Sport News. I am Adeni Ajishafe.
And with that sports roundup from Adedi, we wrap up Trust TV News Hour for tonight. Don't forget you can subscribe and watch us live on YouTube, and of course follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for watching.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.